You have Airbus, Boeing, Embraer, the Chinese company Comac. Airbus is without question the number one airplane maker now.
Okay, the latest on the machinist strike as well, because Boeing had some big labor trouble last year. So what are these workers calling for? We talked about it a bit, but how is the company responding right now, and how important is it to resolve this quickly?
The comparison with the IAM strike last year is an interesting one. The strike last year was Boeing commercial airplanes. 33,000 union members walked off the job. This is a different IAM district in St. Louis. They have 3,200 members off the job. They don't have anywhere near the leverage that the IAM did last year. And this St. Louis strike, they want the same wage level increase that Seattle got. And at the moment, Boeing is holding the line at about 20%.
Let's talk a bit about what the workers got last year. And clearly, they don't have the level of 33,000 workers, but they do have federal government. And when you make fighter aircraft, you're going to get the attention of the Trump administration, and it's easy to wave the flag and say, we have to do this or else.
It is, but the way these strikes work at Boeing, they tend to run to at least 30 days. This strike has only been going on for about 2 weeks. I would expect that we'll see some real progress and return to the negotiating table in another couple weeks, but certainly not before then.
Okay, what about this, as you mentioned, 2-week work stoppage? Has it had a serious effect on production right now? And I know it's apples and oranges, but what did Boeing learn from last year's labor strife that it can implement now?
Well, it certainly stopped production of military airplanes. That's not a high-rate production operation anyway, so I don't have any numbers to point to. But compared with what Boeing's position was last year versus this year, well, last year when that Seattle group of union members walked out, Boeing was teetering on the edge of being broke. They raised $21 billion, and now Boeing has a nice bank account, and they could afford to, at least from their perspective, without political issues, they could afford to sit this strike out. They couldn't afford to do that last year.
Gotcha. Scott, what do you make of Boeing's recent numbers, though, the fact that it had a 20% drop in the production of its aircraft?
Well, that's a 20% drop in deliveries. And I'm not worried about that, quite frankly. I think the headlines kind of overstated that this week. And here's why. Part of the deliveries last month had to do with how many 737s were pulled out of inventory to add to the new production airplanes. We don't know what that is. Boeing doesn't announce that. But this month, it's probably fewer inventory airplanes, and I'm not concerned about that dip.
Interesting. Okay, it's been a year since the new CEO began working. The company clearly has very high hopes pinned on this transition, especially with the fiasco that accompanied 2024. How would you rate his performance so far?
Well, so far, I'd give him probably a B+. He's really made an effort to try to communicate with the employees. He located himself in Seattle as opposed to David Calhoun, his predecessor, who was in New Hampshire. Rarely made visits to the assembly line. Ortberg has been doing that. He just sat down this month with the SPIA Engineers Union. So he's really trying to change that dynamic with the employees. So that's a good thing. And they're making progress with the Federal Aviation Administration. That relationship appears to be improving as well.
Yeah, talk a bit more about that, why it is important to do things the Boeing way. A lot of employees really want to go back to the way they were before the McDonnell-Douglas merger, and there's a lot of pride in Seattle in the way they build commercial aircraft.
Well, the way they built commercial airplanes, it used to be you could count on Boeing to deliver on time. The airplane within Boeing may not have been on budget, but it would be delivered on time, and you could count on the reliability of the airplane. Under the more recent decade, really, the 737 was grounded for 21 months. The 737-9 MAX was grounded for 3 weeks after that Alaska Airlines incident a year ago. The 787 deliveries were suspended for 20 months due to production problems. That is not the old Boeing, and that's what people want to get back to.
Okay, give me 15 seconds. Are you optimistic about Boeing? Because I don't want to make everything sound like bad news.
I am optimistic. It's going to take years, but yes, I am optimistic.
Okay, Scott Hamilton, always a pleasure. We appreciate your insight. Thank you.
You're welcome.